Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this side event for the World Circular Economy Forum. My name is Natalia Landete, Innovation Portfolio Orchestrator at EIT Climate-KIC, and today we're going to discuss how can we scale impact for a green recovery through circular economy research and innovation. So this event has been co-organized by EIT Climate-KIC together with the Executive Agency for Small and Medium-Sized Enterprises. So at the moment, I can see that we have 180 participants, and thank you everyone for joining this event. Also, please be aware that we are recording this session for personal purposes. And during the entire session, we are going to share some instructions in the chat box. These instructions will start and end with the stars. Also, please make sure that you have activated your audio, and you can adjust this by clicking on the bottom of audio settings that you find on the left bottom corner of your windows. Also, remember that in the webinar format, participants are on mute and with the cameras off by default. So please don't get worried if you don't see the video settings available on your screen. Very important, and is that we want to welcome you and invite you to share your comments and questions in the chat box. So we will select some of these questions to be discussed by the panelists. So now that we have covered this tech tour, I would like to share the agenda and walk you through the agenda. So this event will start by the opening, led by Javier Peinado, head of sector of the Executive Agency for Small and Medium-Sized Enterprises, EASME, and Cliona Howie, head of circular economy at EIT Climate-KIC. Then we will continue with the panel discussion presented by Bernie Keeley, the representative of the Department of the Environment, Climate and Communications of the Government of Ireland, Janja Creedmeyer Mackenzie, Secretary of the Ministry for the Environment and Spatial Planning of the Government of Slovenia, Maria Paz Díaz Nieto, General Director of European Funds of the Regional Ministry for Economy and Finance of the Government of Cantabria, Roberto de Carolis, representative of the National Agency for New Technologies, Energy and Sustainable Economic Development of Italy, and on behalf of the project Horizon 2020 Cicerone, and Ketty Medarova Bergstrom, project advisor of the Executive Agency for Small and Medium-Sized Enterprises. Finally, we will share with you the summary and conclusions, and we expect to finalize our program at 11:30. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Christian Matti. So Christian is expert. Is an expert in sustainability, transitions, and innovation policy. He's leading the Transition Hub at the EIT Climate-KIC and is visiting researcher at Utrecht University. Furthermore, he has contributed to regional and urban initiatives by facilitating science policy practice interface for the design and implementation of policy strategies. Christian has worked on research projects for sustainability, transitions, circular economy, regional and industrial system of innovation, as well as innovation policies for public and private organizations in Europe and South America. Christian will be the moderator for today. So welcome, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Natalia. Welcome everyone to this event. So I'm very pleased to have 200 people attending our event in order to share with us some ideas and also exchange some potential actions on circular economy and transformation. So the event is going to be an online event. So we are hoping that everyone can enjoy the discussion that we are going to have. So you will be able to share with us through the chat different questions and comments that we are going to take it forward for discussion with the panelists, but also for further contribution in some of the initiatives that are going to be mentioned. So without further explanation, I just want to pass over to our first panel that are going to give an overview about the highlights on policies and transformation in circular economy. So our first panelist is, as it was mentioned before, Javier Peinado, head of the sector of the Executive Agency for Small and Medium-Sized Enterprises. So Javier, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I'm going to try to put on my video if it is possible. I click it, but I cannot. Well, it looks like I'm having a bit. And now, can you see me? Okay, I guess that you can see me. I guess that you can hear me. If not, please let me know before I continue talking. So very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm happy and glad to see that we are in big numbers here, more than 200 now. It is increasing. As you have heard before, my name is Javier Peinado. I'm representing the executive agency EASME. I'm head of sector in this executive agency in the sector of natural resources and ecosystem, and we work very close together with the sector of circular economies. In the agency EASME, we are implementing parts of the Societal Challenge 5, and in particular, we are implementing the work program Horizon 2020, Societal Challenge 5, in the field of circular economy. So I'm honored to and glad then to welcome all of you into this virtual event of circular economy research and innovation with the subtitle of How Can We Scale Up for Impact for a Green Recovery. So this event has been already mentioned. It's being co-organized by the EIT, Climate-KIC, and the executive agency EASME. And it is a side event of the World Circular Economy Forum online 2020. This is not the first year that that the European Commission is co-organizing this World Circular Economy Forum. In fact, in the previous 3 years in Yokohama and the 2 years in Helsinki, we organize main and side events involving research, industry, small and medium-sized enterprise, and policy makers. And in these events, we were aiming to promote changes and opportunities for collaboration towards the circular economy approaches, including business models, services for waste prevention and reduction in key sectors that are very important for our society, such as plastics, construction, electronics, packaging, and among others. So in our previous events, we have been instrumental in raising awareness about the importance of European Union research and innovation funding in the circular economy. And also we have been instrumental in leveraging new collaborations and joint initiatives among the European Union funded project beneficiaries, policymakers, and investors. And this year, as you have already noticed, this is a bit special because today is the first day of the last month of 2020 that we all are longing for being over. But it is still a very good opportunity this year. It is even more pertinent and more important because while it is not possible to have physical meetings, we believe it is still an excellent opportunity to remain connected, cooperate even more than ever, and turn circular economy into an opportunity for green recovery. So this year, EASME, the executive agency, is contributing with 2 side events. There was already a side event that happened on the 18th of November, and it was for the first time that it was dedicated to water innovation and circular economy. And when new and ongoing Horizon 2020 projects were showcased, and they were showcasing the innovation and discuss future collaboration and ways of enhancing the societal impact. In the event of today, which is dedicated to circular economy research and innovation, and the main question of how we can scale up impact for a green recovery. Most of you already know that the European Commission has an ambitious sustainable growth agenda for Europe, the so-called European Green Deal. Under this umbrella, a number of key policy initiatives have been adopted, like the new Circular Economy Action Plan and the new industry strategy. And all of this aiming at making Europe more prosperous and sustainable. In order to accelerate the transition to circular economy, it is necessary to invest in innovation, and this is why we have an ambitious European Green Deal call for proposal, which was launched already some months ago in September. It is still open for submissions, and this is still under the last year program of Horizon 2020, and will dedicate about 1 billion euro for research and innovation to respond to multiple urgent challenges, such as climate, pollution, resource scarcity, biodiversity, or health. So this call for proposal, the Green Deal call, is a direct contribution to the European Commission Green Deal communication, while helping the European Union to recover from the COVID-19 crisis and increasing its resilience and capacity to respond to such threats in the future. Also, there is also the long-term budget of year 21 to 27 of the European Union, which is coupled also with the Next Generation EU initiative. It is designed to boost their recovery through large stimulus packages to stimulate greener, more digital, and more resilient Europe. And the central part of this effort is the new framework, the new research and innovation framework program, the so-called Horizon Europe, which will drive the systemic changes needed to ensure green, healthy, and resilient Europe. And circular economy and systems are key themes for the future funding priority. We are also happy today because we have together with us representatives of the project Cicerone of Horizon 2020, one of the projects that we are managing in the agency, and they will present the intermediary results during today's meeting. And as a matter of fact, our partner for today's event in organizing this event, the KIC and the Climate-KIC, is the coordinator of this project. It is, in fact, a very strategic project for us, and bringing research and innovation stakeholders together to ensure a more coordinated and high-impact research and innovation programming investment into the circular economy. I'm eager to hear more about them during the next hour of this event, together with the other designated speakers, who will share with us how, in practice, funding is harnessed to drive sustainability and circular transformation. So, without further delay, and thanking you for your attendance again in big number, which is I see that keeps increasing to 132 now. I will give the floor to our partners organizing this event, in particular to Cliona Howie, who is the head of circular economy development and transition at the Climate-KIC. And I wish you a very fruitful event. Thank you very much. And I pass the floor to Cliona.
Thank you, Javier. Good morning, everyone. I'm Cliona Howie, head of circular economy at Climate-KIC, and the coordinator for the Cicerone project that Javier has mentioned. Later today, we'll hear from one of our key partners in Cicerone, from Roberta from INEA. So I won't give you much detail on that, but I'm here to talk to you today a little bit about framing why we're here today and talking about the importance and what we're all working on when we talk about circular economy transition. So as Javier's already set the scene a little bit, but the European Commission has recognized its very urgent need to transition to a circular economy. And this has been demonstrated with the focus in the EU Green Deal, the Circular Economy Action Plan, and many other areas of policy, regulation, and promoting circular economy transition as a systemic tool for things like climate change, as mentioned by Javier. This is particularly relevant in a post-pandemic context, where we need to leverage recovery and resilience plans to build back stronger and better. Circular economy is recognized as a key tool to decarbonizing our regions at scale. So moving towards a circular economy is about maximizing our chances of avoiding climate change impacts, further negative impacts from things like pandemics, and beyond that. But how will we achieve this without fundamentally changing our economic and social systems and making sure that it's a just, fair, and resilient transition at all levels of our multi-government European social system? So a key pathway, and what we're here to bring you today, is to talk about how do we empower these multi-level governance, cities, countries, regions, industries, even communities, to start understanding what a circular economy transition looks like, how to start developing it together in collaboration across an ecosystem, and how to, most importantly, bring action on the ground in an accelerated way. For this to happen, what we would like to promote is that we a portfolio of tailored activity across multiple levers of change. What are those levers of change? Things like reshaping policy, redesigning our financial system, building in circular economy into our education, from school children up to professional education and training. Fostering and ensuring that there's strong entrepreneurship and innovation from startup level all the way up to large industry. And looking how to bring this all together simultaneously to change whole systems from linear to circular, not just pieces of the system. When we're leveraging innovation to transform whole systems, we know we need new ideas, new approaches, and we know we need to pull this together simultaneously, as I said. How do you trigger multiple levers of change for a net zero transformation? What does this look like on the ground? From Climate-KIC, we work with cities, regions, member states to do this across these levers of change. So with policy, we look at how do you reshape the policy that exists, not scratch it and start from new, but how do we reshape it? How do we reshape public funding so that circularity is actually embedded into it in a systemic way, that it's cross-cutting, cross-sectorial, and serves the needs of a very diverse range of actors. We look at building a network of those actors across this ecosystem so that they're interconnected and that you're not pulling on certain strings and forgetting about other strings. We look at transformation of whole value chains. So from start to finish, upstream and downstream, not specific parts of the production cycle, but all of it in its entirety. Really important, how do we change our fiscal policy so that we can transform the financial sector and be able to encourage and foster and really create new kinds of private-public partnerships? We know that the way that we fund innovation now is not systemic enough. So to fund circular economy challenges, we need to make sure we have the mechanisms in place for those public-private partnerships. How do we manage all these actors in a very, very complex ecosystem? We bring in scientific methodologies for stakeholder engagement, ones that are inclusive, ones that are systemic across all aspects of our social economic system, and ones that have continual input and engagement built in. So to set the scene a little bit for our speakers today, who will be coming from different parts of Europe, different levels, region and member state level, to talk about how a circular economy transition is being initiated and how we can catalyze that so that it happens in an accelerated way. I would just like to share with you that Climate-KIC is working with them to make this possible. So we're very, very happy to be here today on this event. Thank you to IASME for collaborating with us for this event. I think that the numbers that we're seeing here today show and demonstrate that this is a very, very key topic for the use of new generation EU funding, and we're all working together to make this possible. The easy stuff is done. What lies ahead is unprecedented. We don't have a guidebook and a rule book on how to do this. We're changing the way that we finance innovation. We're embedding circularity into it. We're not looking to have separate circular economy challenges and separate circular economy financing instruments. We're looking to build it together so that we can have a whole systems transformation. We're looking at the big picture for sustainable circular economy pathways for that holistic approach. So thank you today to all the speakers for being here. We're really proud to bring them to you today so they can share their experiences, lessons learned from the journey. And what we really, really want to try and trigger is that knowledge sharing so that each region, city, member state can learn from one another. And that's what actors like Climate-KIC and YASME are here to do, to ensure replication at scale. Thank you, everyone. And I'll pass over to our moderator, Christian Mati.
Thank you, Javier. Thank you, Cliona, for your words and the overall framework of what is going on circular economy and in transformative policy. We are now going to have a panel of representatives from national and regional governments as well as European organizations. They will briefly explain what are the kind of things that they are doing, and we will facilitate an interaction between them in order to understand what are the potential for collaboration, the different type of actions and resources, and also how we use finance to foster this transformation. We encourage you, all the participants, to bring comments and questions to the chat. We will try to take some forward in order to facilitate the interaction in this panel. So that being said, I'm going to now open the floor for our first panelist, Ms. Janja Kreitmeijer-Mackenzie, coming from the Ministry for Environment and Spatial Planning of the Government of Slovenia. Janja, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Christian, and hello to everyone. And I'm very thankful to be invited to this event today, to be able to participate in the discussion and also, of course, share our example. Can you hear and see me okay? Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. So I will tell you a little bit what we are doing as from the national point of view today, but let me just give you 2 or 3 sentences about how we started so you understand the context. In Slovenia in 2014, we started with this transitional process, mostly with a communication strategy. And with the partnership with stakeholders and government to accelerate the ownership of this transition and to get everyone on board, especially all the stakeholders, but also to connect the dialogue between government and stakeholders to get the notion rolling. This brought us, making long story short, brought us to roadmap, which identified our opportunities for circular transition and priority areas. And also we achieved inclusion of circular economy basically in all the strategic documents in Slovenia. And then we found, this was in 2018, and then we found ourselves in front of the decision to how to make the implementation. Here we came together with the European institutions, GRC, EIT Climate-KIC and EIT Raw Material, to develop together deep demonstration of transition to low carbon economy through circular economy in Slovenia. Why this was extremely important for us in that moment, because it brought a new know-how and knowledge from the Climate-KIC and KIC Raw Material, but also it built on all the activities that we have done so far and all the achievements that we made. And resulted in almost 2 years, year and a half of work in the co-creation of this deep demonstration project. The main purpose of these projects is how to achieve the systemic change for this transition and how to make it tangible on the ground as well. And also how to make it permanent for our future work. So the project builds on 3 pillars. I will just present it really shortly, and then maybe later in discussion there will be more time. Addressing all the most important points, which are circular communities that involve cities, regions, but also basic education. Then businesses and support to businesses and how to monitor this transition. And also to address policy making and innovation through addressing everything from public procurement to training of the policymakers to higher education programs. This is all supported with 3 horizontal programs that I can explain more later, but one of them is transitional capital, where we try to blend the resources further in our making of the project, bringing the experience on the ground through the key value change, and by setting up the Center for Circular Economy that will able to orchestrate this project and draw all the knowledge together for the more permanent results. This is very briefly, of course, project has a lot of programs within, but for now, this would be the initial thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nyanya. So I'm going to invite all the panelists that we have today that you can turn off your camera so we can start to see your faces and make it more human somehow. So I'm going to invite now the second panelist, Bernie Kelly from the Department of Environment, Climate and Communication of the Government of Ireland to give us a brief 3 minutes introduction about what are you doing on this kind of actions for climate change in your country.
Thank you very much, Christian, and I'm delighted to have been invited here today. We've been working with Cliona and her colleagues in EIT Climate-KIC for some time now, so delighted to make the acquaintance of the broader EIT Climate-KIC family, and working with you all together. I'm looking forward to learning lots. So in Ireland, we are, I think, probably a little bit further back on the very explicit pathway that some of the other participants might be making. We've had circular economy as part of our national waste prevention program for some years now, but I think it's beginning to emerge, hopefully like a butterfly, from the background of waste prevention and really catch the imagination. So we've had a new waste policy for a circular economy only this year. It was published by our minister. We have a new government, and it's a coalition that includes the Green Party. So our new programme for government has been a really important means of giving us that support and ambition. And together with the world events between climate change and COVID-19, really that's provided an important fill-up to our efforts as well. So what we've been doing, and what we're on the pathway of doing, is trying to give that policy direction that only a government can give, that really local signal to our own business, to our own communities, to our policymakers, that we need to transform to a circular economy. So we're going to produce a national circular economy strategy in the coming months. We will be going to public consultation on that over the new year. And I think public consultation has been a really important part of our journey on this. It's been a means of getting the message out to business, but also to communities, NGOs, and all the stakeholders. And I think everybody in the circular economy space understands that the wide breadth of stakeholders that are necessary to this journey. So I suppose in terms of Ireland, where we have been is we're an agricultural economy. We also have some manufacturing. So we've been working with some of those priority sectors to get the concept of circular economy off the ground, even ahead of developing that more overarching strategy. A lot of it has been in response to the EU programs of the circular economy and more laterally the Green Deal and the second Circular Economy Action Plan. So in the manufacturing space, we've set up a project, Circulera. It's in a partnership with EIT Climate-KIC, and it's the national platform for circular manufacturing. And that is a public-private partnership. It's industry-led, and it's all about providing supports at right across the system to help manufacturing transition to circularity. So there's an innovation fund, there are research working groups on various themes, there are training supports. So everything that is anticipated as requiring manufacturers to turn to circularity is being provided. So they're a year into their journey, and it's been quite a year with COVID, so many challenges, as you all know. So we're looking forward to moving into next year, but we've just had the formal launch of the project, and I think it kickstarted a new conversation amongst our business sector as well, when they see the opportunities there. I think you had asked as well about what is working well. I think public sector leadership has been very important to us, and that has been strong using green public procurement and other measures, so that public-owned companies are seen to be the first to embrace circularity as well. So we're working with those, and obviously, as everyone has mentioned, GPP, and giving that very strong signal that government wants circularity, then it's willing to use its own money to do so. And obviously then working with all the other levers of government on the financial side, which are built for a linear system. There's no escaping that. So we have to engage right across government to ensure that our own colleagues in government who are working on economic policy, we're working on financial mechanisms, understand what circularity has to offer. I think there's been a lot of progress made on embracing the need for action on climate change. And it's part of our challenge to show that circularity can be part of the solution, that it offers a practical solution to taking on the climate challenge. Because I think up to now that space has been taken by energy efficiency, and there has to be more. There needs to be more than energy efficiency. So we're trying to move into that space and offer ourselves as an additional policy instrument to meeting the climate challenge. So I'll leave it there for now, and maybe that's enough to provoke some questions from the others, and I look forward to a nice exchange of views. Thank you.
Thank you, Bernie, for your reflections. I'm going now to invite our third panelist, Maria Paz Diaz Nieto, from the Regional Ministry for Economy and Finance of the Government of Cantabria. So Maria Paz, I'm going to encourage you to talk about the lesson learned in Cantabria and what is coming in the future from your region.
Thank you, Christian, for inviting me to join this panel. Also, thank you to Cliona, EIT Climate-KIC, and Yasmer for inviting me to share with the other panelists and participants our experience from Cantabria. Well, let me tell you, I'm in charge of the European Funds Department, so I'm not in charge specifically of this topic in our region, but I'm working closely with the regional ministry in charge of that. And since the last 2 years or so, we have been working on implementing our circular economy strategy in our region in different ways, in activities, promoting some activities, researchers, etc. And for instance, since in 2018, our regional development agency, SODERCAN, put in place a specific business forum to promote circular economy among our local and regional stakeholders. It was a kind of platform to promote, to share information, to promote best practices among them, and then later just to recognize the role of circular economy. And together with University of Cantabria, the regional government put in place a specific chair to promote knowledge among our researchers, academia, etc. Well, right there in the same year, the SODERCAN, our regional development agency, and together with the Chamber of Commerce of Cantabria, they signed a specific agreement with EIT Climate-KIC to serve as a focal point here in Cantabria for circular economy and to promote different activities to promote it. And well, later they have organized different events. For instance, last year they organized a national meeting on circular economy. And right now, as I understood, they are working together to implement a specific regional strategy on circular economy. For us, as regional government, we are really concerned about this topic, and that's why from this department, the European Funds Department, we have promoted the elaboration together with the European Commission of the whole strategy, supported also by JASPER's initiative in Europe. When we start to collaborate with JASPER, we discovered that we needed to have more support to implement the circular economy strategy, and we asked them also their help and support to work together with them to define a specific strategy on circular economy. That's why JASPER will be working closely with the EIT Climate-KIC in the next years to try to create our circular economy strategy for our region. And well, we are all concerned about the importance of circular economy. I think that it's not only a question of a specific regional ministry. Many times I have been talking with Cliona about this, and we really think that it's the whole government that need to be involved in this project. And we all together need to implement activities and create sensibilization in our society to implement these activities. And that's why we are working together with EIT Climate-KIC. So that's our experience with you here in Cantabria.
Thank you, Maria Paz. We are going to encourage now the participants that the chat is open, so we are going to receive very welcome your comments and questions. We will try to introduce that as part of this debate, but also we will take that forward in terms of the further conversation. So please do not be shy, use the chat and introduce your ideas and questions. So now I'm going to pass through to our third panelist. The third panelist is, let me come here. So it's from the Cicerone project. So we have Roberta De Carolis from the National Agency for New Technologies, Energy and Sustainable Economic Development of Italy, and she's representing the H2020 Cicerone. So Roberta, the floor is yours.
Thank you. First of all, thank you for this invitation. I'm very happy to be here with Cliona and Climate-KIC and all these program owners representing local authorities. I'm very happy because this is an occasion to mention something more about the Cicerone project that it's just mentioned before, because it's coordinated by Climate-KIC, but ENEA, where I work, is a scientific coordinator of this project. And for ENEA, for Italy, and I hope for Europe, this is an occasion to make real the concept and the investment dedicated to circular economy in different European areas to make the transition a fact. Because the project started in 2018 to answer to a necessity for Europe due to the necessity to coordinate the funding to Europe to circular economy and project related, because the circular businesses and projects that in Europe occurred in the past and in many cases were successful, but the resources were fragmented and the objective not coordinated. So the project brings together, is going to bring together in one site a government, local government, regional government of the European areas to go to the same focus, so coordinating the objective and programming dedicated to circular economy. The project has already delivered the SRIA, the strategic agenda for priority of research and innovation, that is on Cicerone project website. You can find there. The agenda is built on objective and innovation field as with the structure. The first part has the same structure of other agenda just delivered in the past. But the innovation is that next to the objective, we developed a proposal for 4 programs to be funded in a joint way. So we have 4 pilot projects dedicated to 4 different areas where circular economy should be applied, that we called in the project challenges: urban areas, industrial system, value chain, and territory and sea. And the idea is that project should funded by joint action. So different European program owners coordinated to fund the same action. And for this reason, Cliona mentioned before that we are delivering a circular economy hub, a platform where the program owners could join together and deliver this proposal, and in the future other one, because of course the platform is aimed to become a permanent instrument for Europe. This hub will be launched in the spring, so all program owners are invited to join and contributing to this very big and important challenge for Europe. Thank you.
Thank you, Roberta, for your summary. Before getting into a discussion, I'm just going to ask for a brief reflection from EASME, from Katie Medarova, about what kind of the highlights that we can set about what the European Union and the European Commission is bringing about funding on the circular economy action, so we can get actually deeper later about combination of these instruments to work in different working streams. Katie?
Yes, thank you very much for giving me the floor. I'm absolutely honored to have the chance to speak after all these champions in Europe on promoting circular economy. And I will try to just give a glimpse of what is going on from the EU perspective. So obviously, many times now it was already mentioned that the EU is very committed to drive the transformational agenda. And in the last 1 year, there have been many high-level strategies and action plans that were adopted, starting with the European Green Deal, which has many building blocks, including the new Circular Economy Action Plan, which puts strong focus on looking at the life cycle of products and addressing issues of design, promoting more sustainable processes, fostering sustainable consumption, and making sure that valuable resources are kept into the economy as long as possible. We also have a new EU industry strategy that is also committed to advance the twin transitions for green and digital transformations. Within those, there are a number of other upcoming initiatives that are very relevant, and they're all supposed to frame and accelerate positive developments in this direction, including the Zero Pollution Action Plan, the Circular Electronics initiatives, a new strategy for textiles, a new strategy for the built environment. So, of course, this policy framework is a very important, let's say, framework for driving certain actions that gives incentive also for member states and regions. But another very important role of the EU is, of course, to also support these transitions through funding. And here I would like to obviously stress the important role of EU funding through Horizon 2020. Between 2014-2018, nearly 1.5 billion have been already allocated to different areas to support circularity, from sustainable process industries to waste and resource management, closed loop manufacturing, and circular bioeconomy. Obviously, this is not the only, I mean, I work in this area, but of course, under EU funding programs, there have been other initiatives and funding instruments that also support circularity and these transitions under cohesion policy, under the LIFE program. And also there are more and more, let's say, variations to move away from grants into more financial instruments, blending, risk-taking, guarantee instruments, and so on. Something else to mention is that the European Commission has set up the Circular Economy Finance Support Platform, which has produced already important recommendations how to improve the bankability of circular economy projects, how to coordinate better funding activities and share good practices. So there has already been a lot that has been done in the last years, and there is a lot of wealth of knowledge that is there. So we're not starting from scratch. Now it's also a lot about how to really implement that, to spread this knowledge and really uptake all these findings. So what also the EU is doing is to really try to put all of this knowledge and these examples together through knowledge sharing platforms and other support initiatives. So here, for example, I would like to stress the Circular Economy Platform, stakeholder platform, which is one of the biggest platforms to bring the circular economy stakeholders together and share knowledge and examples. And so far, the platform has gathered and disseminated more than 300 examples of best practices, strategies, and different reports. Also in 2018, the Commission has published a full inventory of different projects that were funded in the area of circular economy. These are all available on the website. EASME has a wealth of project data hubs that show different projects, maps of different projects, in which country, in which region, what is being done. If you filter through circular economy, you will see the diversity of actions and beneficiaries and results that has been generated. And something that has been launched more recently is the Horizon Results Platform, another platform where more information could be found about specific results from projects and help projects disseminate or inspire possibly similar actions elsewhere and replicate some of these success stories. Something maybe that I can say what we in EASMA and as executive agency of the European Commission specifically do is that we're not only managing parts of the program, but we're also trying to establish as many links between projects and beneficiaries in order to optimize the impact and ensure more collaboration, more synergies, more complementarities. So we have done a lot of activities with our beneficiaries, projects and partners in terms of joint kickoff meetings, thematic workshops, investor cafes, including on big forums like the World Circular Economy Forum, like Javier said earlier, with the sole purpose of really making sure that the relevant communities are engaged, all the lessons and all the good examples are shared, the knowledge is really being exploited, and essentially what we want from all of that is that there's a very clear and very valuable constructive feedback to policy making, so we can feed into our future policy developments and initiatives, and that we can really showcase all of the multiple benefits that circular economy actions can deliver. And maybe just a few words on, I've been asked to say, okay, what would be, let's say, from your perspective, the main success or enabling factors for a successful circular economy action. From our experience managing these projects, I think one of the key things is really impact-driven systemic approach, which combines and looks at all of the economic, social, and environmental dimensions. I think this is particularly relevant now in the post-COVID pandemic economic recovery crisis context, because we need really transformations for circularity that go beyond the pure technological solutions. We need new business models, new finance methods, new governance approaches, and social innovation. Cliona stressed the approach to the entire value chain. This is very much along the lines that we approach our project and want to see action that really engages all of the stakeholders, especially end users, making sure that there is a co-creation and co-delivery of outcomes and final uptake of those innovations. And as I said, there's already a lot that has been going on, and without any prejudice to basic research and development. But I think what is really important now at regional national level is to see much more a large-scale demonstration, replication, and wider uptake of circular practices. And for that, we need more integrated solutions. Someone was saying earlier, the focus has been a lot on energy efficiency. Actually, what we need now is really more integrated actions that look into challenges and solutions in a more integrated way. So it's not only about energy efficiency, but it's also about resource efficiency and circularity. And only in this way you can showcase concrete benefits from an environmental, social, and economic point of view. So I will leave it here, and then maybe I can take some other questions on some future plans. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. We are now going to address some of the key topics that are actually emerging from the chat, but also as part of the overall discussion. And one of these topics is actually how we see the policy process in terms of not only design of plan and strategies, but also deal with the implementation. So by knowing the case a little bit, I'm going to ask our first panelist from the Ministry of Environment in Slovenia to tell us a little bit more about how you are addressing this issue. In particular, there is this collaboration with Climate-KIC, where we are having this interministerial working group and a set of different programs working together with different ministries, but also by considering also the communities in your country, so the place-based elements. So Nyanya, can you tell us a little bit about the implementation challenge that you are facing there?
Yes, thank you for this question. Implementation challenge is on all levels, like always, is maintaining the ownership and support for the project, is getting a deep understanding of all the sectors that are collaborating in the project. And of course, is engagement of stakeholders, which in this project, we are only getting to this stage now. But also one, I will say, challenge is how to blend finances already now. I mean, I know we will be dealing with this within the project, but to start the project, to finance the project, we had to discuss how to blend different funds and how to connect this to the recovery from the COVID-19. So here, the really big importance is the collaboration of ministries, obviously, but also the moderation and help of Climate-KIC, the support with experience of these European institutions. And I have to really thank Cliona to be deeply engaged and bearing with patience with us. So for now, we are planning to finance this project, the whole, or we say, set of activities, more than project, through the Recovery Fund, Cohesion Fund, and also from the National Climate Fund. And with this financing is helping us as ministries in this thinking process, how we need to actually connect the activities to bridge these silos, so we cannot have separate projects that come together in one big orchestration, but we have to actually blend these projects into a common portfolio with common goals. So this is very important, and I don't know if I maybe missed the question completely, but cities and regions are for us key implementers. They are implementing the policies. I mean, businesses, of course, by no question, because of manufacturing, production, the responsibility and the impact on consumers as well. But cities and regions are maybe not always mentioned so much from the national level. We see them as drivers for this change as well, just as much as businesses, because of the resources they're holding, the opportunities that they have for their own value chains and business models within their organization, and also because they're very close to the citizens. So communicate and reach the people on the ground. We see here the most important partners are our cities and regions. I hope I answered, but if I didn't, just please remind me of something. Thank you. I will leave
Thank you, Janya. Yes, I'm going actually to move forward on that question, and I'm going to pass over to someone else. And I'm actually curious about the answer that Bernie can have on that, coming from the Department of Environment, Climate and Communication. So I just would like to know if you can address any issue about executive capacity, the resources that you need to put in place, or what is the kind of the team and the different type of actors that needs to support the implementation capacity. So as a department that include all these topics, so I guess that you have a challenge, but also multiple capacities and resources to be put in place. So maybe you can highlight what does it mean in terms of implementation.
Thank you, Christian. It is a big challenge, I have to say, working in the Department of Climate and Environment and Communications. There are always silos wherever you go, and there are challenges on the micro level as well as the macro level. Sometimes we can all be so taken up with our own individual objectives that we can fail to look left and right. So there is, first of all, a piece of work underway to forge a partnership with our very own colleagues in our own department to show how circularity can become part of the response to climate change. As I mentioned earlier, energy efficiency has been the most prominent response, and renewable energies, they have been to the fore. So even within our own ministry, there is some work to do to ensure that what circular economy means is understood, and that its potential is understood, and then to use the pathways that our colleagues in climate and energy have already forged with the finance ministry, with the Treasury Management Agency, with the other supports that are out there, sustainable energy and enterprise energies, agencies that support business with the cities and the towns, so that circularity then features on the menu of actions that all these actors can take in combating climate change. So yeah, there are obviously that you need a multi-discipline team, you need access to research, you need people who understand business, you need people who understand finance and how that works. It's a very broad requirement, and I suppose we're trying to recruit people who are already out there. We're trying to expand the horizons of people who are already working in the space. So we don't want to replicate, we don't want to duplicate, but we want to expand the conversation that is already there. And I think there is an appetite for it, and there are some very passionate people involved already. So there is a space now on the national stage for expanding that conversation and including people who are already involved in those areas to use circular economy much more. And I think that's probably our best way forward.
Thank you, Bernie, for your insights and your lesson learned from your challenge in implementation. I would like now to move to another systemic aspect of circular economy that is concerning the coordination and the collaboration between different type of actors and different topics. So by doing so, I'm going to first approach Roberta in terms of the overall vision and goal of the Cicerone project. So I know that you can go further about what does it mean joint programming, and what is actually in terms of research and innovation, the aspect that a joint programming covers in terms of a systemic approach for circular economy.
Yes, thank you for question. The idea of joint programming is to finance, to deliver and finance integrated and big in terms of funding and results obtained. So they are built as a big challenges to to cover all the aspects and stakeholders involved in that challenge. So for urban areas, for industrial system, value chain, and territory and sea. So the idea is that all the stakeholders acting in that areas should contribute to develop the circular economy. The quadruple on quintuple approach that it's now it's a goal also for European Commission. In the past, we are talking about public awareness. Now we are talking about co-creation. So all stakeholders should contribute to this transition. So the integrated project, the pilot that we put in the SRIA and we are intending to build other in the future, are intended to be in this way. So I read in the chat someone, I don't remember, asking how other stakeholders can contribute to this. So the agenda is, first of all, is intended to be a living document. So the objective at the innovation field that you now will find in the agenda are the start point that we are building after different consultation at the European and the local level in different countries related to the consortium. But of course, the needs and priorities can change in the future. So through the platform where the program owners hopefully will join, it will be possible to change something, update the SRIA. Of course, the idea is that in the platform we'll join directly the joint programming, but in a governance and in mechanism that they are building together in this period, very intensive period, the idea is that the platform will interact with other stakeholders that provides inputs for update the SRIA and the future joint programming to be funded in the future. So this will be the mechanism. So all stakeholders are invited in some way to contribute. Join in program owners directly in the platform, but the other stakeholders should provide inputs and build together this transition. The transition to circular economy is a very big challenge that we need to realize together.
Thank you, Roberta.
I hope that I answer.
Yes, thank you, Roberta, for highlighting the promising services that the platform is bringing. I want to keep talking about coordination and collaboration, and I want to focus now in a place-based perspective. So that's why I'm going to ask Maria Paz, from a regional perspective, what does it mean for the region of Cantabria, collaboration and coordination with other actors, not just between the different areas of the government, but also with a university? I know that the university is very active on circular economy and have a particular area, but there are other organizations in the region that are supporting the transition to circular economy. Can you give us a couple of examples about how this collaboration and this coordination between actors is making sense in Cantabria?
Thank you, Christian. For us, it's a focal point, not only because we have an agreement, a specific agreement with University of Cantabria to collaborate, to promote, for instance, the circular economy and to give the possibility to our researchers and academia to have the exchange of best practices at national, local and regional level, but also at European level. And we have also implemented a new experience. We have been nominated as pilot region in Europe by DG Regio to implement a specific initiative to promote social dialogue, to implement EU Green Deal actions in the definition of the new ERDF program. So we will invite civil society to be part of this definition, and we are in the process of implementing this social dialogue with our regional and local representatives for the civil society. And well, this is a first experience. As you can know, Cantabria is a small region. We have less than 600,000 inhabitants, and we have the specific size to implement this pilot initiative, and will be a great opportunity for us to introduce the civil society point of view in the definition of the future ERDF program in terms of circular economy, low carbon transition, etc. Let's see. I mean, we are just working on that, and maybe in the following months we will have some results about that. And we will be the first region in Spain doing that, so we are really optimistic about that. So, I mean, these are two good examples for us about this collaboration with our local and regional stakeholders.
Thank you, Maria Paz. So now I would like to take the discussion to another level, but by looking at the scale of the discussion. So I would like to introduce the idea about how we are addressing the global value change approach. I do not have actually a candidate for asking this question because everybody in the panel can address this topic. But the overall idea is trying to see, well, we have talked about implementation, we have talked about collaboration, place-based, but circular economy is a topic that needs to address at the global value change approach in terms of globalization, the resource optimization. So because I know the case much better, I may say that we can start again from the representative from Slovenia, because actually they position this kind of portfolio of projects in terms of like getting a position of Slovenia as a kind of a leading country on circular economy. So what do you think that is the approach that, or what you can say about the approach of Slovenia by thinking in a global value change approach? And Anya, you can bring some few words of that, please.
Yeah, maybe I think it's several things with this project. I think it's our hope that will be once we start rolling and have the I would say implementation rolling, that we will be able to scale it up and share this experience. And through this project, we will also gain additional experience. What are the bottlenecks? What can work? And we can spread this through as a, I'm talking from a national body. So for us is, I will say, easy to work on a global level because we are part of a lot of activities and institutions and working bodies. So I think one is by international multilateral cooperation between institutions and between countries, both on European and global level, and try to lead by example, scale up your solutions that work, and promote and stimulate this notion of how to achieve that. I think most important is to break down the fear of this transition being something that only costs a lot and is something that not everyone can address without a lot of knowledge and resources. Thanks.
Thank you. And actually, this triggered me a couple of questions for Katie about what is kind of the ambition of the European Commission in terms of this discussion at global value change, because we know that there are a good framework and a variety of instruments to address territorial development, but as part of that, we need to consider a kind of a global value change in terms of the major transformation. Actually, some of the questions in the chat is what are the priorities on some particular materials to start for, and this is coming to the globalization and the logic of circular economy and the relation of Europe with other parts of the world. So can you bring any kind of example about how the European Commission is addressing the global value change logic?
Yes, to unmute myself first. Thank you very much for the question. Of course, clearly that's a very relevant topic to be raised, talking about circular economy. And of course, you are absolutely right that value chains, they are not bound to territorial or national borders. Maybe what I can say here is that actually, while place-based action and bottom-up actions are very important, both for initiating and also implementing circular economy solutions, we also need, let's say, cross-border action. And I think this is where, let's say, the real added value of EU trans-European projects for research and innovation really comes, because this is when there is the collaboration that is brought across borders, bringing different countries, even beyond Europe, together in those collaborative projects in order to address the full value chain approach. So I think that, yeah, one thing that we see good results is indeed through our funding for research and innovation that stimulates this cross-border trans-European approach to innovation and circular economy. With regards to the future, I think that, yeah, international cooperation is a horizontal theme in Horizon 2020, and it will be in Horizon Europe as well. So there will be specific actions and priority calls for proposals that will encourage international cooperation on certain value chains and certain priority measures. And this is where, of course, we want to see exactly approaching the global dimension of what we're talking about. When it comes to maybe specific material priorities, of course, as you know, now it's all in the making, so it's a bit earlier to say two specific things, but the EU has proposed a long-term EU budget that hopefully will come to a final conclusion soon with the Council and the Parliament. There is an ambitious Horizon Europe program being proposed, where circular economy is a priority, both in terms of stimulating circular industrial innovations, but also circular systems innovations. And what we know, of course, now the first work program is under development. But what can be said is that many of the priorities for research and innovation would be very strictly aligned to the new circular economy action plan and the certain areas that are outlined there. For example, electronics and ICT, batteries, vehicles and clean energy, packaging, plastics, microplastics, textiles, construction and building, also nutrients, water management. Also, what we would like to see in future projects and in the future program is working also more on methodology and knowledge perspective, so indicators, methods for measuring the circular transition, actually better understanding how value chains work and what are the enabling factors and success factors, or let's say what works well and why, and what doesn't work so well and what we need to improve, maybe looking at digital solutions and their role in that and so on and so forth. Maybe just last words, because I saw a question on the Green Deal. I think that this is probably the next immediate opportunity for funding from the EU. The European Green Deal call that was launched in September. It's the last call under Horizon 2020. It is a bit more specific because it really has come about as a response to multiple crises, and now even more so in response to the COVID crisis. And what we want to see different from previous calls for proposals on the Horizon 2020 is that we want fewer but much larger demonstration actions that can deliver very concrete, tangible results in the medium or short to medium term. There are two specific topics that are very relevant for circular economy, one dedicated to industrial carbon cycle to combat climate change, and the other one actually on demonstration of systemic solutions for territorial deployment of the circular economy. The deadline is 26th of January 21. And also earlier in September this year, there was an info day and a brokerage event. So there's a lot of valuable information available if you Google this, recordings of the sessions with more information about the calls, the requirements, and the opportunities for participation. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. I do have a last question before finishing the panel, and I'm going to share this question with two panelists from different point of view. So there is this kind of topic that is emerging about global value change and industry. So I would like to have the opinion from the kind of the technical point of view on addressing the systemic aspect from the Cicerone project in terms of the different thematic areas that is covering the Cicerone project, but also from the region of Cantabria, that is one of the region in transition as part of one of the European programs facilitating this transition in industry. And I think it's important for us to know also how they are working also with the other regions in transitions as part of the same program in terms of industrial transformation. So let's start with Roberta regarding how Cicerone is addressing the particular industrial aspect or thematic aspects.
Thank you for question. The industrial system and the value chain are in the Cicerone project are slightly different in terms of approach, because for industrial system we are intended to be first of all the industry as a whole, as one industry. So all the aspects concerning the optimization of process and product related in the circular economy approach. So closing the loop inside the same industry, but at micro level. At meso level for industrial system, we intended the possibility and the necessity to closing the loop in the industrial areas. So with, for example, innovative circular business model as industrial symbiosis, for example. For value chain, we intended all the value chain from production for the designing phase to end of life, that for now is not end of life, but it's a new production phase, because we don't want waste in the ideally of circular economy. So at the macro level, so avoiding to talk about the territory, but all the phases involved in the production phase. So of course in the value chain, the industrial system are deeply involved, but there is not the one actor of this value chain. So the intention is to close in the loop from beginning to the end, and to have a process and or a product really circular. In the joint program that you find now in the agenda, we propose some example for value chain for complex products, for example, because complex product is a real challenge for closing the loop, because you know, as a complex it's a need to have a very clear and circular design at the beginning to have a circular product at final. So, but it's an example, because the joint program in all challenge are an example to apply this, but as mentioned before, that there will be not only one, and that could be updated and in the future with the needs and the inputs that will come from other stakeholders to the platform. Thank you.
Thank you, Roberta. So Maria Paz, if you can say something about the participation of Cantabria in this program, a special program on regions in industrial transition.
Yes, well, at this stage, we have not developed our circular economy strategy yet. We are working on that with EIT, Climate-KIC, of course, but we have made some efforts since the last 2 years. I mean, we have been working, the Regional Ministry of Industry and Innovation has been working on this project together with OECD and the European Commission, DG Regio. We were nominated one of the 10 pilot regions to make some research about how to generate this transition to a low carbon economy. We have a region that has suffering a lot this the loss of opportunities in our industrial areas, and together with the OECD, we have developed a specific strategy to implement this this transition to a low carbon economy, and we have defined specific subjects or topics that should be developed in the following years. One of them is specifically the agribusiness sector. We need to work on that, and I think the other one is also the implementation of specific actions related to circular economy. I don't know more about this project really, because it's the other ministry in charge of this project, but if you need further information for that, about that, I can share with you. I can find it and share with you.
Thank you, Maria Paz. Thank you very much. speakers. So we are getting at the end of the panel. So I want to thank you all the participants for the very interesting questions that you put in the chat. I hope that most of them, or at least some of them, has been able to been approached by the panelists, and we are going also to share this chat with the panelists just to further review of some of the questions. So now is the moment to wrap up the session. So I'm going to pass over to Cliona Howie to make a final reflections about what we have discussed today. Cliona, please.
Thank you, Christian. And a big thanks to all our panelists and champions from around Europe, and also to the EASME for being here today on this panel and sharing knowledge, sharing experience and thoughts. I also really want to reach out and thank all of you there today participating. The questions in this chat have been fantastic. We're all oversaturated with online events and webinars and et cetera, workshops. So I've had my fair share of ones, and the questions in this chat have been particularly provoking, particularly stimulating, and really fantastic to understand where people's different thinking is around this circular economy transition topic. In this wrap up, I want to try and address some of those questions in a very obviously concise way, but bringing thought to what some of those participants have shared. So when we talk about circular economy and transition, we know that we need an ecosystem approach. We know that we need new ways of collaborating. We know we need new ideas, new approaches. Where the way that Climate-KIC is focusing circular economy and transition is saying, if we have an ecosystem, do we have a heart of that ecosystem? Do we have a brain of that ecosystem? Do we have a skeleton of that ecosystem to bring structure? So if we look at it like that, it's easy to place the public administration at the heart of that. Bernie mentioned in some of her comments, the importance of the kind of governing bodies and the governing individuals across different ministries getting involved and really supporting. So if we start from scratch, I see some of the questions were around, what are the barriers to getting kind of public administration on board? Does this come from a top down, a bottom up? Where's the push pull? So I think we're all on the same page when we say, really, the effort needs to come from every direction, right? This is not just a top down approach. It's not just a bottom up approach. Businesses are doing amazing things and are already leading the way on circular economy transition with new business models, new ideas. There's many more to come. Governments are also leading the way on changing the way they look at resilience, the way they look at sustainability. But what do we really need to overcome the barriers of getting a solid support from the public administration to be able to ensure that that ecosystem is connected across strong policy, strong financial support from the public funding sector, etc. So from Climate-KIC's point of view, having worked with multiple and different scales of public authority from cities, regions, and member states, we would really like to recommend that there is a consideration around forming a specialized unit on circular economy. We know that this working group or specialized unit needs to be cross-cutting. It needs to have individuals that bring authority and delegating decision-making powers to the working group, but really importantly from a cross-cutting approach, meaning that this isn't just a waste issue. This isn't just an economic issue. This is also an education issue. As we learned from COVID, this is also a health issue. When we talk about our balance, having a balance across a harmonized approach to transition, to make it systemic, this also involves our quality of life, how we interact with nature, and those impacts. So if we look at trends post-COVID, right, COVID has had an impact on every single aspect of our life, on our global value chains, and just on the way that we're looking at our future. So some of the main trends from post-COVID, if we think about this as why we need a systemic approach, is there's a significant risk on dependency on global supply. So there's been a forced deglobalization to look at how do we become more resilient on that global supply? There are tools like global value chain analysis to help us understand that. So part of that starting point from the public administration point of view, we say, okay, we form a kind of interministerial or cross-cutting specialized unit working group. Do we have all the facts? Do we know what we're working with? We have different plans, programs, and strategies, but do we have an all-inclusive, coherent systems map? So a systems map can help us really kind of start talking around what are we looking at? What are we trying to do? What's our benchmark? What's our status quo? And where are we trying to get to? In that systems map approach, it will help highlight how we transform value chains, because we will have a better understanding of resource flows, not just material flows, but resource flows in that territorial approach to the ecosystem. We can use tools like global value chain analysis to understand how dependent are we on a global supply and where are our weak points. We can also use this to understand what companies, what industry, what experience and knowledge do we have inside that ecosystem? Where can we strengthen it? Where can we build it? In COVID, we also saw the trend, because of this global supply risk that happened, we also saw several companies diversify their business model, change how they were working, change their production cycle, change how they were supplying their raw materials into that production cycle, and definitely look at waste as a resource. So we know that the possibility is there, but the political buy-in, the support from the public administration from a cross-cutting point of view is absolutely fundamental to ensure that the support for a systemic approach is there. We also saw as a trend in post-COVID, a demand for green policy. It was a necessity, no longer a nice to have. So building in circularity as a tool for systemic design and systemic thinking is where we can also start looking at how do we reshape policy. So again, this is not about changing everything new, right? It's about refitting what we have already. Refitting, I saw in the comments, someone mentioned about, does it mean that all old business models are over and we all have to have new ones? Not at all. It means how can we help companies re-look at their business model to become more resilient? And resilience means competitiveness as well. We have to appreciate that, right? This is about staying strong. This is about rebuilding, but also about thinking about our future and how do we ensure that future generations have strong business models that not only generate new job opportunities and new business opportunities, but do it in a way that is truly sustainable. I think I want to close with saying that we have to start somewhere. There's a lot of knowledge already on this because places that have started to work on this. So in the chat, lots of links have been shared about where you can find examples of good practice. There are lots of upcoming initiatives from top down, from the European Commission. There will also be a Circular Cities and Region initiative. There will be the platform coming out of Cicerone where we will help public administration mobilize that cross-cutting approach to circular economy challenges. Ketty mentioned that circular economy challenges are not respecting of our kind of geopolitical context on boundaries, right? And so we need to be able to have joint programming. We need neighboring regions, neighboring cities, neighboring territories to be able to work together to face the kind of challenges that we have when we talk about circular economy. But this also rings true with that whilst we're facing challenges and designing for challenges, designing solutions for challenges, we're also creating opportunity. We're creating opportunity for new ways to generate resilience and strength, competitiveness, including job opportunities. Use the links in the chat to check out the European Circular Economy Stakeholder Platform is a really great source of information. There's national sources of information. Bernie mentioned Circulaire in Ireland as a platform. There's other platforms across Europe. So do reach out, have a look. Don't be shy in connecting with beyond your local network. So whilst we need to think local on kind of resilience and recovery, that doesn't mean that we need to bound ourselves on knowledge. Knowledge sharing should be as widespread and broad as possible. So thank you all again for being here. It's fantastic participation today, fantastic turnout, lots of great information. Get in touch with any of the speakers, panelists, and other participants today to bring your network new knowledge, new contacts, and we look forward to the next event with all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Cliona, for sharing your comments. Then with this, I would like to thank our panelists for sharing with us their experiences and their perspectives. And also I would like to thank our audience for staying with us and also for sharing your great comments and questions in the chat box. We are aware that we didn't maybe answer the entire questions that you shared, but we hope that some of the presentations answered to your questions. So also in the chat box, you will find a link where we are going to publish a PDF document with the summary of this event. So you can do a follow-up afterwards as well. Thank you very much all. And with this, we officially close this event. Wish you a great day and a great week ahead. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.